The 57th major update is here for the global side of Langrisser. And of course, like usual, we gotta take a look at everything that should be coming in the whole entire thing. We are getting 2 new story characters. Sagani, or I'm just gonna call him Sagani because it's what I've been calling him ever since Cien. And the other one being Amadeus. Sagani is pretty good. He's kinda like Michelle, but is magic based, and is able to do a whole lot more. Meanwhile, Amadeus, he is the weirder one, but can be pretty fun to use in some ways. So let's dive deep. Sagani. He's part of the strategy, Euless, and mythical faction. When there are friendly allies near him, his damage don't increases and lowers the enemy's mobility, causing them to be unable to guard when he attacks them. Tanks will absolutely fear him, unless they have some ways to prevent mobility down, but I think he's going to be really amazing in about everywhere in order to slow them down, and will be even greater against rush type boxes in PvP. For his bonds, he will need Grenchiel and Amadeus. His 1C is almost very similar to Michelle. It's an after skill where he can place a Snow Owl within 4 blocks of him that lasts for 2 turns, and has a 1 turn cooldown, which is really great. After using it, he can move 2 blocks to do whatever he wants. They can only be 1 Snow Owl at a time, and buffs on him do not lose their turn duration. Then afterwards, this skill changes into Snow Owl Sense. It has a command effect where enemies have a 10% chance of being crit, and the passive on it, when Sagani uses a skill, the Snow Owl has a 2 block range, and ranged soldiers with them can also attack with it. So basically, this Snow Owl helps to extend his range. After he takes action, he can move the Snow Owl somewhere around 2 blocks from where it's at once every time. Then when the Snow Owl disappears, it changes back into its other skill, and then rinse and repeat. So unlike most mages that we see nowadays who have natural increased range, this is Sagani's way of having that. His other unique skill does more damage against lances that reduces the enemy's mobility for 2 turns. But if they already have their mobility lowered, then its damage increases by 20%. You are able to hit quite hard with this one, considering how well his talent goes well with this. And is quite spammable as well, since it has a 1 turn cooldown. Then the passive on his 3C, if he's in battle against enemies within 3 blocks of him, or within 2 blocks of his Snow Owl, then his int increases. It's an AoE that inflicts silence and unable to act again for 2 turns, while also gaining Frost Blockade for himself. With this, when enemies end their turn within 2 blocks of the Snow Owl, it deals fixed damage. Those debuffs will be brutal, especially when you combine that with his talent. It's especially threatening against in PvP where there's so many at the end characters. The Frost Blockade effect is not too terrible since it'll be like the same case with Theon Spinnertal where it can put some pressure if they're too close to it, so it might cause your opponent to change up their positioning. Sagani is pretty much the magic version of Michelle, but is mainly a single target attacker. His 1C really sells that out. It's really spammable too, allowing him to refresh his skills quite easily. As long as you position it right, he'll keep constantly doing tons of damage. And he also has access to Holy Word, making him a pseudo healer, and can use the Gift of Eternal Life as well since he is going to be holy. He should only be holy, I believe, with both of his class. He's going to be a really great magic damage dealer if you don't have one already. You'll probably want to find some ways to buff himself up so that his attacks are much stronger, since the faction he's in isn't very a common one to use in regular content, but in PvP, as long as he's paired up with Grenchiel, he'll be fine. Sagani has a lot of potential in both content, so it's not really a terrible idea if we decide to pull for him. His pseudo healing is going to be really amazing, but just overall a really good damage dealer at that. But he is totally skippable if you don't really need another magic damage dealer. And with him being able to slow down enemies almost all the time will be quite useful and gonna be really annoying for your opponents to deal with. The other one on the list is Amadeus. His kits are probably one of the weirdest one that you might ever see. He's part of the Origin, Strategy, and Mythical faction. His talent increases his attack and defense the less HP he has. After using a line AoE skill, he pushes the enemy 1 block back. At the end of his turn, every damage that he does, including fixed damage, will grant him 1 stack of Divine Tree armor, which gives him a shield and is stackable that cannot be dispelled. which doesn't sound all too terrible. With Blood Sword equipped, he can definitely stack much more faster. The shield would also definitely keep him alive, so that if you purposely let him take damage, maximizing his damage output, that shield will keep him alive. For his bonds, he will need Meriendo and 8 on Kelmo. His 1C is an AoE that stuns one enemy, but has a 1 block range, which honestly sounds really terrible, the range at least, and also the cooldown. The 2C is a line AoE that reaches 3 blocks that ignores 15% of the enemy's defense. Then his other one, it reaches 1 block long but 3 blocks wide, that reduces the enemy's attack and int for 2 turns. But any range increase effects like the Balance Blade will not work with it, which honestly really sucks, since all of his AoEs have terrible range. Then for his 3C, it has a command effect where allies within 3 blocks of him have their attack and int increase, only if they have a shield. Terrible. Like, why even? The passive, it gives him +2 mobility as long as he stands in a forest, mountain, or grassland terrain. The skill lets him choose one of 2. These are AoEs that hit 3 times. One of the options is called Violent Penetration, where he does vertical pick, then run through, which should push the target back, and then he moves forward and does horizontal lance. The other option has him do vertical pick, then horizontal lance, then moves forward and uses run through. He gets immunity to all debuffs right after that, and it seems like it does 0.2 times damage rather than doing the skill's damage multiplier. Which sucks, yeah, but then he is doing 3 AoEs in a row. This has a 3-turn cooldown, and if the enemy max HP is 5 times than his, then his 3C does 300% more damage, which sounds really great for Ancient Beckoning. Everywhere else, I don't ever see that happening. To be honest with you guys, everything about him sounds terrible. He can hit hard, yeah, and has a very unique AoE that has a 3-hit combo, but all of his range are so bad. Like, Balance Blade can't even save him, and that's because he doesn't even want it, because it will only affect one of them, I'm fairly certain, so it's just not worth it. May as well put Blood Sword on him so that he takes advantage of his talent. And because of his 3C, you don't want to invest too much HP for him, which is also bad because, yeah, the damage increase will be really incredible, but that is so hard to pull off in about everywhere besides some like a few bosses, but that leaves him way too fragile against AoEs. And maybe his shield can help a little bit with that, but he needs to get really close to the opponent in order to get those effects. And we're not going to even talk about that command effect. Only so few characters have that who are very common to see. It's really only for him. I would say the passive on that is amazing, but only on specific maps. And he even has access to unicorns, making his mobility not too terrible. But I feel like the only way that can fix this character is to give him an act again skill, terrible or not, so that he can have better reach. Like, I don't know how busted that would be on him. It might be a good trade-off since you don't want to invest too much HP on him, because he's gonna die very easily anyways. He will be a very fun character to use, but getting him to do literally anything might be tough. So I would say that you can skip him if you don't want to suffer. But hey, if you want to get him just because, then go ahead. Your guys' choices, not mine. Only really giving my opinion so that you guys have a better understanding. Now on to the exclusive equipments. One of them is a helmet for Clotaire. When an enemy has Shattered Flame, he basically gets attack command. And if he does damage using a skill, he gets a skill damage increase buff. The command effect can be quite nice since he's usually in position towards the enemy, but the skill damage buff might be useless since he can't do anything after doing so, since you are only seeing Clotaire main damage source from his 3C. So you can skip this if you really want to. Then the second one in this upcoming update is for Wehttam, also a helmet. If he enters battle against opponents with Despair, the debuff from his talent, his damage increases, and if he uses a skill, the cooldown is reduced by 1 turn, which is a good way to secure a kill since that's what you're mainly going to be looking for whenever anyone has that. So with this, he has a better chance of sneaking a kill. So if you want this, it really isn't a bad idea to do so. The 4 casting skills that we are getting, one of them being Angelina. I have been waiting for this. It will increase her attack by 5% and has a 30% chance to boost her attack whenever she acts again for 4 turns. I really love this because it allows her to be offensively self-sufficient. Yeah, you do have to be lucky, which is the only bad part about it, but this is actually pretty decent. If you really enjoy using Angelina, like myself, it might be worth the materials just to get it. And I'm totally not saying this just because Angelina is the best character.
Shut your stupid.
The second is for Shilinka. More attack, and if her 3C doesn't get a kill, then the cooldown is reduced by 3. You do have to wait a few extra turns, but it can be quite nice to get it. Third is Virash. When under his immortal effect, he attacks first, which is pretty good since the dude is always on life support whenever he does so. The fourth and final one is for Oliver. His attack and crit rate increases as a passive and is able to steal an extra buff when on a defensive terrain, which can be worth just for the crit increase. For the new banners, a wish list only featuring Langrisser 4 and 5 characters. It's pretty much the same thing as the other one, and we should start seeing this every month, but I'll probably remind you guys in like 1 or 2 more videos similar to this before I stop mentioning it because it'll be a regular occurrence from here on out. Then we got a new weapon banner, and from what I understand, you can also customize it with other equipment alongside the new ones. So with the new weapon on it, it gives more attack and AoE damage only for archers and assassin units. This is really amazing. It's about time we got something like this for them. So someone like Suzette, Dion, and even the upcoming Kirika will really love this. By the way, I will get a video about the Shining Force collab really soon. Just please be patient. I know I'm far behind on the CN updates, but very soon I'll try to catch up to it. The new armor that we're getting, it only reduces AoE damage taken, but increases healing effects. A helmet that offers more HP, it has a 50% chance of increasing your own defense when being attacked. Sounds quite amazing, mainly because it's a new helmet for the flyer, archer, assassins, and aquatic units. And I only say that it's good because they don't have a whole lot of helmet options, so it's quite nice. Then the accessory. It has a 30% chance of reducing the skill cooldown by 1 or 2 turns when entering battle with a skill. By the way, it increases your attack as well. So this is pretty much the attack version of the Dimensional Jewel, but mainly only great for physical single target attackers. Some characters might like this, but most of them would rather prefer some other ones. Really, 3 of these I would say are actually pretty good. The weapon, helmet, and accessory. Helmet mainly because there's not many options for those specific class types, so it might not be a bad idea to actually use one of these. Accessories, since some physical single target attackers might like them, but I would say the main big prize is the weapon. That AoE damage increase is really huge. So with this, a lot of assassins and archers' damage potential will be significantly better. As for new content, there'll be the Forbidden Battleground, this event where you have to match cards to get some rewards. I think in like 2 or 3 weeks, we should be getting this that you can find in the event tab, and a new type of auto chess arena. This is a new PvP event, and you guys know that I'm not really too fond of these, but I will try my best to explain it for those who are interested in it to the best of my knowledge. So from what I've gathered, we'll be up against 8 players but in a 1v1. You get to select some characters that they give you in equipments as well. But each characters can only hold 3 at a time that consist of weapon and accessory, and even some exclusives as well. It only has some characters and accessory, by the way. So in the preparation phase, you get to select a certain amount of units on your side. Then you and that opponent will face off just watching your units go at it. Then whoever loses that battle loses a certain amount of HP, which then goes higher as the round progresses. Everyone will start off at 30 HP, then on the next round, you go against someone different. Then on the next preparation phase, you get more characters that you're able to select and use, some more equipment options, and even Thxs to level the playing field. You do get the same type of characters that can happen, and that's because you are able to increase their star level until you reach 3 to make them stronger. There is a currency in the whole thing that's called Star Coin or Astral Coin, but you do use these every time you get someone new, and the cost of that character depends on the rarity, and it can even be used to refresh new characters up to a certain amount. This whole thing is basically a last man stand where it eventually comes down to 2 players remaining to decide who wins the whole match, and depending on where you place, gets you points. In the main menu, there will be a section where you can find out all of the characters that there are, what class type and factions they belong to, equipment, Thxs, and all of the extra effects when you upgrade their star level, even showing their rarity and their cost. One thing I give it credit for is that literally anyone is able to play this, just as long as you have a good understanding on how PvP works, especially when it comes to auto AI. It even has a unique HUD, and the sound effects is really amazing. The design, I really like it a lot. Definitely can be worth a try if you want the rewards that it offers. Last but not least, the skins. So far, only 3 skins, unless somewhere in CN they release a all-server skin release like with Leobeck recently. The Echo of Light for Sagani and Amadeus, then a Machalado skin for Ashmere that features a few other ones. And due to the current season right now, we can hopefully expect some summer skins to make a rerun. And there we go. That should be about everything, if not most of everything that should be coming in the global side of Langrisser. Next month after this update should be the Shining Force collab. And as we all know, collab characters are always limited time and might not ever come back. I will eventually have a video on them very soon, one of them being like the CN news, and eventually when they come closer, it'll be a video like this one, where I go more into detail. But that's everything I got for you guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more, and feel free to let me know down in the comments how you guys feel about the update. For me, I think I might skip the banner. I kind of want Sagani at the same time, I kind of don't, because I do kind of want to save for the collab. And plus, it's not like I really need Sagani for anything. And Amadeus, he's just so underwhelming. If I can, I'll try to pull some strings here and there to maybe get a showcase on them, but I'll have to see what I can do. So don't get your hopes up if I don't manage to do it, because I do also have some other planned videos. But anyways, I hope that you guys have a great day, and thanks so much for watching. Your fellow Z.